Hello and welcome to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview as Villa travel to Goodison Park on Saturday to take on Everton at 3 o'clock. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by my good friend Neil Dunworth to talk through that game. The show is sponsored by Luke Roper. If you want to get 20% off everything they have to offer, then use the code TVV20 and that will do just that for you. Neil, if people knew the rigmarole that we had trying to get, as if it's not bad enough being a Villa fan in general, you're then having to try and do podcasts about it and try and get on with our system. If people knew the fun and games that we had, honestly.
Genuinely, I was thinking about it there. You should set up a separate YouTube channel for the bloopers and the outtakes and just record from the very start when we jump into the room.
Mate, the content on the bloopers would be far superior to anything else that we throw out on the channel. There's a blooper every time we start. Honestly, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, here we are. We're here for the match preview. Neil, you'd say sometimes like, we always get teams at the wrong time. Everton now at Goodison Park. Sean Dyche is 2 for 2 since he's taken over. They've won both games. It is a bad time to play Everton at Goodison Park, isn't it?
It's a bad time to play Everton with Seamus Coleman scoring wonder goals anyway.
Really, do you think he meant that? I don't think he's a liar, so I think he must have done.
There's no way Seamus Coleman tells lies. I think he'd be afraid to. He's the most honest, down to earth person that you'll ever find. And do you know what? I'll hijack it a small bit with some Irish propaganda here because
why not?
For 60k, it's often thrown around, but the guy's just a born-bred leader, and you just see what he does, even within the Irish camp, even within the Everton camp. He'll go down as an Everton legend, and I think he should do because his loyalty and his ability to stay the course as well is huge. And terribly proud of him as an Irishman, I think, and he's done some great stuff for the Irish national team as well.
It's a big win against Leeds for them last week. They're carrying a slight bit of momentum now, Everton, with those 2 wins. So Goodison Park won't be an easy place to go at all. Obviously, Arsenal, who beat us last week, went there and lost 1-0 as well. So it's going to be a tough game for Villa. Villa shipping goals for fun at the moment. I guess in some respects, though, whatever Everton turns up, they're not going to be free scoring. So from that regard, at least maybe we'll stop conceding 3+ per game.
Yeah, it's definitely an area. I'm actually glad we're playing away from home at the weekend because our away form has been a bit better defensively than our home form has been. Although not that much better, but it's Sean Dyche has really come in and galvanized that team. They're a team of players that suit what Sean Dyche, I think, wants to do. Obviously, having Dwight McNeil there playing as that wide player. Calvert-Lewin has been out, but Neil Maupay is starting up front. Obviously, they've got some dogged players there in the middle of midfield that Frank Lampard couldn't get the best out of. But I think this is still going to be a low-scoring game. Now, once again, I said the Leicester game was going to be a low-scoring game, and what do I know with regards to that? But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think both teams are going to want to keep it tight. But I'm happier that we're playing away from home with regards to this because I think that Emery's style has allowed him to really bunker down away from home, and we've gotten some of our better results away from home. So playing against teams at the wrong time, yes, absolutely, but I think the fact that we're playing away from home is in our favour.
Yeah, we've kind of got to go back to basics a little bit, Villa. We're shipping too many goals at the moment. We've been far too open. Something that's been levelled at Villa a lot over the years actually has been too easy to play through. But Villa giving teams goals seems to be the big problem at the moment, and it's the volume in which they're giving teams goals as well. So Villa's best results under Emery really have been away from home. Other than Man City, Villa have won every game away from home under Emery. So if they can get back to those kind of performances, I see this one being a bit like the Southampton game. When we played Southampton away, they'd won a couple of cup games, so you felt like their tails were up a little bit with the fittest man in the world managing them as well in Nathan Jones. So Everton's tails are definitely up at the moment. But like you, I do think it's a good thing for us to be away this week because I think the way we've set up in away games has been astute, has been clever. Everton will bring threats. We don't know at this time whether Calvert-Lewin will be one that plays, but it's fair to say they're a different team when Calvert-Lewin's there. So I think if he's not there, that's a big plus for Villa. They've got kind of like this workman-like midfield going on at the moment with Idrissa Gana Gueye, who we know well, Doucouré and Onana in there. A lot of the times Onana will get right up alongside the central striker and create that extra body in the box, and then Doucouré will enter the box from deep as well. So Villa have got to watch midfield runners. But I do think that's an awkward midfield to come up against for Luiz and Kamara. For any midfield, I don't think any midfield will enjoy coming up against that Everton midfield, because it's quite industrious. There's legs in there. That there can be a few problems there for teams, I think.
When we played them at the start of the season, Andre Gomez was in that midfield with
Yeah, he can be
Decore
got at.
playing, and the two of them played at the base of like a 4-2-3-1 system, and we really went to town on Decore and Andre Gomez in that game early on in the season. Um, they've obviously transferred now and they play a 4-5-1 type system, obviously with the wingers. And you mentioned that one of the midfielders does kind of play in that 9 role, 4-4-1-1, if you want to call it. Um, I think if Onana isn't there and they have to bring in somebody like a Tom Davies, it does weaken that midfield.
Yeah, big
Um,
time.
I never really no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because that's the jinx that I would put on it. And you see Tom Davies bang one in from 40 yards the weekend. But I think obviously Onana came on. That was his first game against Villa. He really ran us ragged, and those 20 minutes, he was the reason that they got their second goal or got their goal back after we
Yeah.
got our second goal. He's a really good player. He's like they're rave about him in Belgium. And he's going to be somebody, if he's out, I think it's going to be a massive plus point for Aston Villa because if he doesn't start, but if he does come off the bench, we're going to need to look after him because he's got that height, he's got that bustle that Sean Dyche needs. Almost like when David Moyes started to play Morrow and Fellaini up top with the striker, because he had that muscle and that height, he moved him from that midfield role into kind of more a forward role. They started to get more purchase. Sean Dyche can do that with Onana as well, and as we know that we are going to get peppered from crosses from the likes of Iwobi, set pieces. Coleman's going to overlap with Iwobi there as well. Dwight McNeil just plows them into the box. That's his raison d'etre out there. So it's going to be something we're going to need to look for. And if they do only have Neil Maupay to start up front, or maybe somebody younger like an Ellis Sims, because I don't think Calvert-Lewin is going to be there. They are going to rely on their midfielders coming, and that's why they really need somebody with the height of Onana to get into the box and maybe play up top beside Maupay. So if he can't start from the off, and I know he came off the bench against Leeds, if he can't start it from the off, I think it would be seen as a plus point for Villa.
Is that the talk then that Onana won't play? I know you said you'd done some stuff with Everton. Is Onana a doubt?
They were just going on. I did an Everton podcast and they were saying that it's more so it's a doubt whether he'll start. He'll definitely be involved in the squad.
He's got to play Onana, surely.
Oh no, it's just he's injured. It's just he's coming back from an injury. He's coming back from an injury. That's all it was. Yeah.
I'd like to see him missing, to be honest. If him and Calvert-Lewin are both missing, that gives Villa a far superior chance of winning the game. That's two big options from set pieces gone as well, which is, Everton under Sean Dyche. I'm not being lazy here in saying this. They've been dangerous from set play since Dyche has arrived in the building, so that's something for Villa to watch. What do you think Villa would do? Do you think we'll stay the same? I've got a feeling we'll probably stay the same. Maybe Luca Dean will come in from Moreno, but potentially actually maybe the fullbacks will change. Greg was talking on 1974 about the podcast about the fullbacks all being at the kind of the same level. So it may be now that Emery rotates them a little bit, but Emery was seething after that game. So if he does keep it the same, players won't want to be dropping off in performance because he was absolutely seething. I don't know, but I think we'd probably be the same kind of team. I would think.
I think if we are looking at fullbacks, I think Ashley Young comes in for Matty Cash. It never seems like Unai Emery likes what Cash does from a positional point of view. You just like when the camera pans, not even to him, but as it's panning along as you're watching play, you can see him hopping up and down when the ball comes down our right hand side. And you mentioned that I think it was at the Leicester game, or maybe it was the Man City game. I can't remember. It must have been the Leicester game because it was the home game. And Matty Cash came on, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. You said that there was there was animation on the sideline.
I was watching him. He wasn't happy with a few things that Cash did.
I think maybe Young comes in there. I think Young up against Dwight McNeil. Dwight McNeil isn't a speedster. Yes, he's a great crosser of the ball, and he can manipulate a cross out of very little. I think Ashley Young up against him there, I would have no qualms about. I'd have no qualms with Cash either, but I think that's what the change is going to be. I think McGinn is going to be another. Another week on from McGinn coming back, I think we're going to see more industry from him. I don't think you can drop Coutinho after scoring a goal.
No, they
And I
won't.
think I don't see a pathway back for Bailey back into the team unless it is for Buendia. But once again, Buendia does a lot of unseen work, even though I did feel against Arsenal that he was at times that he was in and out of the game. But I think that's just what you're going to get from Buendia within this team. And yeah, I can't see there being upheaval to the team. He made 5 changes in the last game. I think he'll be a bit more steady in this one, albeit I don't think we'll see our goalkeeper go up for corners.
No, hopefully we don't need him to. I mean, last season, even the start of this season, it's probably unthinkable. You're talking about Matty Cash not being in the team, won Villa's Player of the Year last year, but
Yep.
Ashley Young has really had this renaissance. And I do think when he doesn't play Ashley Young, we do miss his nous, we do miss his know-how and his leadership in there. I think that was possibly something that was missing a little bit against Arsenal. A lot of mistakes were made in that game. I mean, to be fair, we made mistakes in the Leicester game when Ashley Young was there, the home game before as well. I think Bailey, I think you're right on that. I think this isn't going to be a game that's open and expansive, so it probably actually makes sense to have the craft and the vision of Buendia and Coutinho in there, as they might be able to open the game rather than Bailey, because you're kind of feeling a team that's going to sit in a low block and defend deep. Bailey will get himself into those cul-de-sac positions, and actually worked reasonably well having him as an impact sub in the last game. He hit the bar, made a couple of nice touches, frustrated us a couple of times as well, but it did work okay, him coming off the bench with Duran. I think that's the key thing now. I think we have a team we make up, although the squad's small, there's still 3 or 4 or 5 players to come off the bench and impact the game if it's not going the way that we want it or we need it to turn in a certain way. A big thing here is that Ollie Watkins could become the first Villa player in Premier League history to score 5 in a row, so that's a big one. And at the moment, I'd probably back him to do it. I'd probably say it's more likely to score than not, the way he's going at the moment.
Yeah, I can't remember what his record is like against Everton.
He scored a couple of years ago at Goodison, didn't he? A little chipped finish, I remember it in lockdown.
I think he did. And in the fixture of Villa Park at the start of the season, he had a really, really industrious performance. He did 2 assists for 2 goals as well. And he was coming off a lot. He copped a lot of flack for the Bournemouth game, and he showed a lot of character to come back from that. And if he was to do five in a row, it'd be absolutely brilliant for him. I think his confidence is through the roof at the moment. He's showing some really good finishes. We've spoken about that before. He's showing some really good hold-up play. He's going to be up against Connor Cody and Tarkowski, both players who are, look, they're 2 very good defenders, but they don't like to be dragged side to side. And I know a lot of people say that Cody is this real nimble kind of defender, and we've seen him do that in a 3, but in a 2, dragging him side to side is to our benefit, because
Villa did that at Goodison, didn't they? On the Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, they showed a clip of the difference in Everton's defence under Lampard and under Dyche, and that was exactly what Villa did for that first goal. They managed to pull Tarkowski and Cody around for that first goal, and Danny Ings bagged. So I don't think we'll be doing that at Goodison Park, though, if I'm being honest.
And that's what makes me think that potentially, a Leon Bailey might maybe get a start, because if you can drag them forward, which is very difficult against the Sean Dyche team. We have, like against Burnley, they were the masters at this. Every team came and said, "Oh, we'll just play a bit of pace around them here with Tarkowski and Ben Mee, the 2 centre halves." But very few teams got a massive run on them, or they never, like, they're very disciplined and not coming too high. But you could drag them either side. And I think that it's going to be a very, very nervy first opening 10-15 minutes. Villa will do their whole thing of keep it tight, try and draw teams forward and try and get a goal in the first 15 minutes. We've been very, very good at that. And I wouldn't back against us scoring an early goal. But I think both teams might do that, because I think this is a game where both teams would shake. If you were to give it to them now, 2 managers walk out into the centre circle, shake hands and take a point and walk away. I think both teams would probably take that. Villa to stop the rot and Everton to keep the point, keep their momentum going. Albeit we know that Aston Villa can go and win this game if they turn up. But we need to stop the rot. We need to stop the rot of 3 losses in a row. And an away game against Everton, a resurgent Everton, isn't a give me at all. But it's one that we should have ideas, and we should see our attacking impetus continue, because we've attacked really well against some teams recently. Our defence just needs to really show up.
We score every game. We've scored every game under Emery, haven't we? We're putting the ball in the back of the net. We know where the goal is under Ernal. We just can't seem to defend it the last 3 games. And it's, you talk about early goals, and I agree with you, because we have scored some early goals. conceding a lot of early goals as well. Arsenal, Saka's goal must have been in the first 15, 20 minutes in the last game. Leicester responded quickly. So we've got ahead in home games and then been pegged back quite quickly. Man City, I've got visions of the Man City game, early set piece. We can't be having stuff like that. We'll come unstuck if we defend set pieces like we did that day against Manchester City against these. They'll score early. They won't mess around Everton from set pieces. And at the moment, the Everton fans are very upset with what's going on in their club in general in terms of the ownership and the way they've been run over the last few years. But when they're at Goodison Park in the relegation run, we saw it last season. We've seen glimpses of it in the last couple of home games. They'll get behind their team under Dyche and they'll make it a hostile place to come and play. So it's important Villa do keep it tight early because the Everton fans will be up. If we can quieten them down after the first 15, 20 minutes, keep it at 0-0, Villa stand a better chance of winning the game. It's imperative they don't go behind early in this one.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we haven't shown the ability to pick ourselves up off the floor much for the last 10 years, really, have we? As a club. But what's also very important for Aston Villa as well is that, prior to the last 3 games, Arsenal and Leicester, we had only lost from winning position. Well, no, this is something I read on the internet, and as we know, the internet is always 100% real. But I think it was from the other 14 Twitter account, and I think I saw that we had only lost from a winning position once prior to the Leicester game, and then we let the Leicester game slip and we let the Arsenal game slip as well. So twice in the last couple of weeks we've let points drift from being in a winning position. And I think if Villa get into that winning position, I think we will see a massive backs to the wall kind of situation. And I think Emery is going to want that. I think Emery prides himself on that, and I don't think that's any secret. And I think that's what maybe why he was so annoyed at the weekend was he knows you get your nose in front, you always have a chance. And when we got our nose in front, we turned out we completely went to pieces after Zinchenko's goal. And before that, we were rocking. And I think that's what annoyed him more so when he was talking about players weren't right positionally. I don't think it was anything to do with the third goal or the fourth goal. And I think he was just kind of a bit more annoyed that we worked so hard to soak up pressure, get those 2 goals, and then positionally we kind of lost it 5 minutes before the Zinchenko goal, and definitely after the Zinchenko goal, we lost our positioning in defence as well. So he won't want to see that at the weekend against Everton, against a completely different team. We're going to attack completely differently. We're going to need to be resolute in our positioning, specifically from crosses. We can't be heading the ball back into traffic. We have to just, head it out over the line for a corner or get rid of the ball as quick as possible, because Everton are going to aerially bombard you regardless of what you do under Sean Dyche. And it's going to be a different type of attack, and we're still going to need to be as disciplined as we can be.
Yeah, I think McGinn's going to be really important in this one, actually, on that right flank. If he can curtail McNeil's early crosses, like you mentioned earlier, I do think McGinn getting in and about that Everton midfield will be important for this one. But Villa have got to do a few things better. Emery was visibly upset with how much Villa gave the ball away. And I think the thing he's mainly hurt about is the fact they've conceded 11 in 3 and 4 in multiple home games. I think that's what's really upsetting him. And that was what he was most angry about. You can't be shipping that volume of goals that the Villa have been doing at the moment, especially when you have been so tight in the games before. That's just kind of come from nowhere a little bit, which makes it even more frustrating. Let's finish with a score prediction then, Neil. What do you think the score is going to be on Saturday?
I think it's going to be 1-0 Villa.
1-0 to Villa.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a massive emphasis on not conceding, like we had when he first came in. I think it's going to be a huge emphasis on that. I think the Villa have the firepower to get a goal. We have been scoring in games recently, and I think we will score here. And I think it's going to be 1-0 Villa.
Okay, I did the Who Scored podcast Premier League preview this morning, and I said that Villa were going to win 2-1, so I'm going to have to stick with that. I think Villa will win 2-1 at the weekend. So excellent, Neil. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'll be back tomorrow for the AVFC Stato show to go through all the niche stats before the game, the Everton game that we've just spoken about. So yeah, we do 2 previews on this channel. One looking at the game, and then one around all the stats leading into it. So watch out for that. Then there'll be a post-match point at some point on the weekend as well. So again, keep your eyes peeled for that. Subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on, so you know exactly when the videos are coming. Yeah, have a good rest of a Thursday, and up the Villa.